If you're used to paying that Golden State sunshine tax, then this video may be the thing that funds your annual vacation, an extra bedroom, an extra 1,000 square feet, or even funds your retirement. If that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. Are you a Californian or a former Californian like I am, wondering if Washington State might be your next home? In this video, we're going to talk about comparing the cost of living between the Evergreen State, which is my current home state, and the Golden State. So if you want to know more about what the cost of living differences are and how it might affect your move, this is a video you want to tune into. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Hal Bird. I'm Hal Bird. I'm a licensed realtor and relocation specialist in both Oregon and Washington, focusing on the Southwest Washington and Portland metro areas. And I'm currently sitting in California visiting family, and my husband and I thought it would be a great idea to talk about the cost of living differences between the two states, especially because about half of all of our relocation clients come from the state of California. And we've helped dozens of California families and individuals relocate from this Golden State up northwest to the Evergreen State. So if you are considering a move to Southwest Washington or to Portland metro area, you can book a Zoom with me. In the description, my scheduler link is down there and all of my contact information, so you can call, text, or shoot me an email. But scheduling a Zoom is the quickest, most efficient way to get on my calendar so that we can set up a consultation directly for you and your situation. Because I realize that my videos can't answer everyone's hyper-specific questions. And I love to be able to get on and talk it through with you. Not from a point of selling you on a particular area, but on, does this move make sense for you and your family? And if it doesn't, I'm happy to tell you. I'm one of the first people to tell my clients when I don't think a house is gonna work for them long-term, or if I don't know if it'd be a wise move for you because of various reasons. But there are a lot of people who want to move and want to work with us and our team, the Bird's Eye Group, and we are so happy and honored that you guys choose us again and again for your real estate needs. Today we're going to compare 5 categories of costs and expenses that you might incur, especially the largest ones, to see if this is something that's going to make financial sense. It's one thing to want to move, but it also has to make sense for you and your family and where you're at. And what more and more Californians are finding out is that they can get a very similar or higher quality of life at a fraction of the price in other states. And that's why there is this mass California exodus going on. So one of the things that I find with clients who are especially first-time home buyers is that they're shocked and very motivated to move to the Northwest when they realize that you can still get a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $500, $550, whereas in many cities in California, that dream has now become $800, $900, $1 million. I mean, if you're in the Bay Area, shacks start at $1.2 million. It's really refreshing when they see what they can get for their money. So we're gonna compare statewide, California to Washington, and then also some of the more populous cities, just to give you guys an idea. So statewide in California, the median home price as of 2025 is $786,000, whereas in Washington, statewide is $610,000. So off the bat, you're looking at saving about $170,000 just state to state. And then when you start comparing, if you're gonna move from somewhere like Los Angeles with a median price of $915,000 and then go to somewhere like Vancouver, Washington that has a price of $515,000, you can see how now you can maybe fund some of those other adventures you want. You could fund your hobbies or travels or retirement or a lot more house or land. So if you've been wanting to upgrade and you don't see how you can make it work because you bought your house 20, 30 years ago and you're like, how do we upgrade? Or even how do we downsize? I mean, you could be going from a 3,000 square foot house and you might be retiring into a 2,000 square foot house. And you're wondering, why would I pay so much money for a smaller house when the house I have is paid off or almost paid off? It just doesn't make sense. But looking somewhere like Washington, like the Northwest, the Portland metro area, can now unlock a whole new world in terms of opportunities for retirement and just a lifestyle that might make more sense. So obviously housing cost is one of them, and that covers housing prices, but let's also look at rent. So for rent, California statewide is about $2,600, and depending on where you go, you're gonna be looking, in the major cities, anywhere from $2,000 a month to $3,600 a month, roundabout, for rent. Now, when we look at Vancouver, statewide, we've got just under $2,000 a month for the average 2-bedroom rent. And depending on where you're looking, in Spokane, it's just under $1,500, and in Seattle, it can go up to $2,100. So obviously all those are ranges. If you have a little bit more of a luxe or bougie taste, you can expect all those numbers to go up. I know some of you are watching this video being like, there's no way that I could rent a place in Spokane for $1,500 a month. I get it. So this is just going off the averages and giving you a roundabout idea. You can take that and apply it. So if you wanted to double everything, if you're used to a different lifestyle, the numbers will still hold. Now, when we look at property tax, this is where you see a little bit of an increase, because statewide on average, you're looking at 0.74% in California compared to 0.94% in Washington. But when you look at the final number, you'll usually be paying less in property tax, because even though our rates are slightly higher, our values, our assessed values, are usually lower. So that means that dollar for dollar, you're paying less. Now, what's really interesting is when we looked at the price to income ratio, comparing, say, San Jose to Vancouver, it's almost double. And that's the difference between being house poor and building wealth over the long term for most people. So if you're someone in San Jose and you're like, I don't think this is gonna work long term for me, Vancouver could be such a great option for you. The next category we're gonna cover is taxes, which is a very easy topic to cover, because in Washington, we have no state income tax. That means if you work in Washington, or if you receive income in Washington, including your retirement, there is 0 state income tax on it. So you cover your federal taxes, there's no returns to file in Washington, it's just 0, which as a Californian, growing up here, the way that California works was so ingrained in my mind, it was challenging to wrap my head around. What do you mean? I don't even have to report my income to the state? No. Now, businesses is a different story. If you want a video on that, just let me know in the comments. We can talk about B&O tax or business and occupation tax. But as far as income goes, 0% on income. California starts at 1%, tops out at 12.3%. So the average salary around $70,000, you're gonna be paying about $3,000 a year to the state of California. Once you get to above $360,000, that's where it jumps up quite a bit. You're in the 10.3% tax bracket at that point, and you're paying tens of thousands of dollars, $30,000+ a year to the state of California. So if you're a high income earner and you're looking to be less tax burdened, which is one of the reasons my husband and I moved to Washington State, is to be less tax burdened, when we realized we don't have to stay in California. If we're gonna go somewhere else, let's go somewhere else that we're gonna be happy, have a fulfilling life, but also have less tax burden. And that was Washington for us. For us, it was a perfect fit. If you wanna see our video about all 9 tax-free states, you can watch that video here. Income tax rate is pretty straightforward. Then we have sales tax. The base rate in California is 7.25%, and cities and counties can add on additional taxes to that. And in Washington, the base rate is 6.5%. Now, the city and county add-ons top out in California at about 3.5% for LA and San Francisco. And in Washington, they range from about 0.5% to 3.8%. So for most places, when you compare California to Washington, you're gonna be spending less in sales tax. Now in our area, in Clark County, Washington, a lot of people who live there will go to Oregon to make sales tax-free purchases, because Oregon doesn't have a state sales tax. So any shopping you do there is tax-free. There is a use tax that you owe the state of Washington, so bear that in mind. But a lot of people do that to avoid paying taxes on large purchases. And then gas tax. Washington has been in the news for having one of the highest gas taxes in the country, and that is true. In 2025, it will go up to 55.5 cents or 55.4 cents. California also has a gas tax increase, and I mean gas is in gasoline, petroleum, and that is 61.2 cents. So both have pretty high taxes when it comes to gasoline. So the key takeaway here on taxes, if you are still working or if you are retired or retiring, I just spoke to a couple who is in the process of retiring out of the military in California and doesn't want to pay California taxes on his military retirement income. So they're looking at moving. So The takeaway I would say is that your paycheck more than likely will jump if you move to Washington. That's instantly more money in your pocket. So you're saving on your real estate and you're making more money, or you're keeping more of your money, because it's not just what you make, but it's also what you keep. That brings us to category number 3, utilities and everyday expenses. I speak to a lot of Californians who are very concerned about electric. Like, they're like, we don't want vaulted ceilings because we're gonna be paying all this money just to condition the ceiling. And I'm like, Washington electric rates are so much cheaper than California. Where I'm sitting in Southern California, my parents' base electric rate is 32 cents. Their peak electric rate, because there are peak hours, so when there's high demand hours, you have to pay more for it, is 64 cents a kilowatt hour. Whereas in Washington, we pay the same rate no matter what time of day it is, no matter what day of the week, and that's 8.79 cents per kilowatt hour. That allows us to have an electric bill that averages about $60 a month year round. And that includes charging an EV. And you can watch our video about our utility costs here. We broke down averages of utility costs across different areas, but also shared our exact electric bill. So you can check out that video here. So in looking at this table of expenses, the electric rates stick out to me a lot. Even going statewide, you're paying less than half per kilowatt hour in Washington compared to California. That has to do with the fact that we have hydroelectric power. Again, if you want more information on that, leave it in the comments. We'd be happy to make a video explaining that. Water is pretty average across the board. Internet, slightly cheaper. A lot of these things, as you look down the categories, car registration, this is very different. Average car registration is $250 in California compared to $95 a year in Washington. Average auto insurance is cheaper. Average restaurant meal per person is cheaper. Our grocery index is lower. Our homeowner's insurance is less. Our fire insurance is less. Our earthquake insurance is less. Our entertainment is less. Auto maintenance and upkeep, also less. So the takeaway here is these everyday expenses aren't things that you're gonna notice right away. And maybe in some categories you might find you spend more money, maybe in like health insurance, for instance. But what you'll see is that on average, on the whole, you have lower real estate prices, less taxes, and then in all of the little categories, you're spending slightly less every single month. Every single time that you swipe your credit card, you're probably gonna spend slightly less in Washington than in California. And it's not just about less, but in some of those cases like fire insurance, earthquake insurance, homeowners insurance, it's not just about it being less, but it's about actually having the availability of it. Because it's becoming more and more common for insurance companies to deny writing new policies for different homes. I have clients in Redding who are struggling with this as their neighbors are losing their insurance. And then when you look at something like earthquake insurance, that can add on $1,000 to $2,000 per year, whereas most Washington homeowners skip earthquake insurance. It's available, but most don't purchase it. So there's a certain peace of mind that I've noticed, and I've been telling recently a lot of my California clients this because I hear the questions that they ask, and I'm like, the things that you worry and stress about right now are not even on the minds of Washingtonians. It's just not something that we think about because it's not a struggle for us. The struggles and the stress that we deal with in California, I mean, even down to like traffic and congestion, is just different and less. And so for my husband and I, moving to Washington was not only a smart financial decision, as we're talking about in this video, cost of living, but it was also a huge increase in our lifestyle and satisfaction. And that brings us to category number 4, which is lifestyle and quality of life. So when you think about a state that has 40 million people compared to a state that has less than 8 million people, and when you think about congestion, it just makes sense. There's less people in Washington state. I mean, obviously it's a smaller area, and most of the state population is on the west side of the Cascades, primarily in the Puget Sound area. Our entire county in Clark County has about 500,000 people. And while it's growing, and it's one of the fastest growing counties, and we're seeing some congestion increases, it still doesn't even compare to California. My husband and I went out to run an errand this afternoon, and we went about 14 miles, and to get back took us 45 minutes, almost an hour to get back in the afternoon. So it's so different. And I would say, like, especially if you work remote or if you're retired, see if you can spend some extended time. And if you make a visit, please let me know that you're in town. People always call me and they're like, hey, we just visited. And I'm like, why didn't you call me when you're here? I would have loved to meet you in person. We just have the belief that if you take the time and expense to come up and visit and explore the area and you're considering it, we'd love to meet with you either over coffee, or we have a gorgeous membership at a winery at the Vancouver waterfront. So we just love to meet people in person, especially if they're seriously considering working with us and our team. It means a lot, and we want to take the time to do that for people because people didn't take the time to do that for us. And we wanted to be the friend of the Northwest that people didn't have. It's not just about real estate, it's about relationship. And you've heard on this channel, if this isn't your first time here, that when you buy a home with us, you don't just get a home, you get a community. And we mean that, as you can see from our client events that we're always highlighting, because I think it just shows our commitment to the relationship and to our clients, that we're putting on ongoing events, you know, for clients who bought homes for us 4 years ago, 3 years ago. If you're just pending on a house right now, you still get invited to our client events. And that's something that I think really sets us apart. And it's very important to us to build that community with our clients. So I didn't mean to go on a little tangent. Also, when we're talking about weather, there is a bit of a weather trade-off depending on who you are. A lot of people are tired of hot climates. When I speak to people from the whole southern United States, I'm talking Southern California, Texas, Florida, they're tired of the heat, they're tired of being chained to their AC for months out of the year. They want a more mild climate. So the idea of what Vancouver offers, which is a very mild climate, mild winters, we only get a couple inches of snow that might last for a couple days. The summers are gorgeous. You know, we're talking in the 80 degrees instead of being 100 plus for days and weeks at a time. It's a very mild climate. In exchange for that, we do have about 8 months of, I would say, like moderate gray weather. We're not like living like Eeyore where we have this constant dark cloud following us, but it does rain, it does sprinkle. We get about 40 to 45 inches of rain per year, which isn't that much when you compare big cities. Like if you're looking at moving from California to Florida, you'll probably get more inches of rain per year. It just comes in a more concentrated time compared to the Pacific Northwest. We call it PNW mist because it's very misty. It's like a sprinkle, and that's why we don't usually wear umbrellas in our area, because it's not raining hard enough to even take an umbrella out. Another lifestyle component, especially if you live in California, you're used to a beautiful, beautiful geography. I mean, we've got beaches and mountains and deserts, and we have all of those things in Washington. They're just different. We've got Mount Hood you can go skiing at. We've got the Oregon coast. We've got really cool spots along the Washington coast. You can go on the east side of the Cascades and do deserts and go off-roading and fishing and boating, and there's so much outdoors. Like the whole West Coast is just great from a lifestyle standpoint when it comes to outdoors. So you're not going to be sacrificing anything you like to do outdoors. If anything, you'll be able to do it more, especially if you like hiking, because there's a lot of times that you might not want to hike when it's so hot in California, or when there's constantly fires going on and it's smoggy and the air quality is bad. Washington's air quality is usually better than California. So I would recommend, like, if you have a little weather app on your phone, you can add a second location, add whatever city you're thinking about moving to in the Northwest. Maybe that's Vancouver, Camas, Ridgefield, Battleground, Washougal. Those are the 5 biggest cities in Clark County. Maybe it's Portland or Spokane or Bend, wherever it is. I would recommend adding it, and then throughout the year, as you're considering it, you can compare what's the air quality like, what's the weather difference, and you can really get a feel of, is this a livable climate for me? Lifestyle-wise, average commute times are less in the Northwest than they are in California. And culturally, it's just different. I would say, and my husband talks a lot about this when we meet with people in person, is just the cultural differences of what people care about. People don't care so much about what you do in the Northwest, especially where we are in Clark County. I can't really speak for, say, Seattle, but in the Portland metro area in Southwest Washington, people care more about what you're into, who you are as a person, your values, and they care about what you do for a living. I mean, we've been friends with people for months and months. I mean, some friends even years before we even knew what they did for work, because it just isn't something that we talked about. We, vibed on other things. We were outdoorsy and active, and it's just not something that comes up because people aren't constantly trying to use you to get something or network to get ahead. I will say though that if you are a hustler and you are a networker and you want to get after it, the Pacific Northwest is a great place because you can really make career advancements, because the culture is a little bit laid back and you can kind of come in and make moves, but you got to do it the right way. But that's besides the point. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just a quick healthcare snapshot. So this is number 5 when it comes to healthcare. So the average ACA Silver Premium for a 40-year-old in California is $477 compared to $408 in Washington. And the major carriers in California are Kaiser, Blue Shield, and Anthem as far as insurance and carriers go. And then the major carriers in Washington are Premera, which is Blue Cross, Regions Blue Shield, Kaiser Permanente, United Healthcare. Molina is a company that offers Medicaid and other health plans in Washington. So one nice thing is if you're Kaiser patients, both states have Kaiser, so transferring is relatively easy. It's not quite the same company, but they're different, I guess, divisions of the same company. I've had a client who was a physician with Kaiser move from Central California to Camas, and she was able to transfer her job and stay at Kaiser. So those are the 5 categories I wanted to cover in today's video. If you feel like I missed anything, drop a comment below. Let's see if we can chat in the comment about other costs. If you live in Washington, do these costs pretty much line up with what you've experienced, especially if you're a former Californian? And if there's any other videos you want to see, we love hearing from you guys in the comment. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this video. It really means the world to us, your support, especially subscribing. It really helps get our channel in front of people who are just like you. And who knows, some of those people may become your neighbors one day. So if you are looking for a lower cost of living while maximizing your quality of life, I can't think of a better state than Washington. And that's why myself and my husband personally left California and moved to Washington 7 years ago, and we couldn't be happier. Even being home in California, it's nice to visit, but I don't see myself ever moving back here to live. So again, you can reach me in the comments. My contact information is in the description below, and feel free to book a Zoom with me. I will catch you guys next time. Hope you're doing well. Ciao for now.